The Australian Baseball League's 2020-21 regular season will begin on December 17th, 4 weeks later than it began a year ago. 6 teams will take part, each team playing a 24-game schedule, down from 8 teams and a 40-game schedule last year. As you probably guessed, it's the COVID-19 pandemic causing the reduction of teams and games. We've seen that in just about every professional baseball league this year. What's unusual about the ABL season is that in the first 3 weeks, only 4 of the 6 teams will be in action. The other 2 teams, the Adelaide Giants and Brisbane Bandits, will not open their seasons until January 5th, when they will host week-long hubs. To make up for lost time, they'll play nearly every day, including some scheduled doubleheaders. In previous years, ABL teams only played 3 or 4 times a week. Only the top 2 teams will move on after the regular season. They will play in a best-of-3 championship series. The 2 teams that will not be participating this season are the league's 2 newest teams, Geelong Korea and the Auckland Tuatara. The 2 teams made their announcements on the same day about a month ago. Geelong Korea was no surprise. Bringing in an entire team and coaching staff from Korea with all the quarantine periods required was too hard to work around. Auckland's withdrawal, on the other hand, came as a surprise to everyone in the ABL. It's not certain right now if they'll return next year. So the ABL is back to 6 teams, the same original 6 they had until the 2017-18 season. The ABL always gets a lot of minor league prospects, but this year with the cancellation of the minor league season they'll be getting more than ever. I'll mention some of them as I run through the teams, but there are too many to name here, so I'll link the ABL signing tracker, a complete list of every team signings, in the description. The Melbourne Aces go into the season as defending champions. Last year they were 23-17, tied for second in the Southwest Division. In the postseason they were a perfect 4-0, sweeping 2 games from Auckland in the semifinals, and 2 from Adelaide in the championship series. It was the first ABL title for Melbourne. Offense was the team's strength. They scored 224 runs, more than any other team. Team batting average ranked second at .293, just behind Canberra's .296. Team on-base percentage was .365, just ahead of Canberra, ranking first. 28-year-old Colin Willis was the league leader in both categories, a .427 average, a .520 on-base percentage. He was also the league leader in OPS at 1.131. He'll be back with the Aces this year. The team's 40 home runs tied them for third among returning ABL teams. The biggest contributor to that was Delman Young, who led the ABL in home runs, 13, and slugging, 662. Also a .345 batter with a .394 on-base percentage. He'll be back in Melbourne for a 3rd straight season. Team ERA was the league's 3rd best at .370. Their top starting pitcher last year was Darren Downs. His 0.95 ERA was the lowest among starting pitchers. He is not returning. In his place, the Aces have signed left-handed pitcher Gunnar Kynes. Last season in Adelaide, Kynes was 3-2, ERA 150, 9 starts, 42 innings, 42 strikeouts. The best in the bullpen last year was John Kennedy, a league-leading 5 holds and a microscopic 0.35 ERA. He'll be back this season. 2 big imports for the pitching staff. 26-year-old Drew Anderson made a brief appearance for the Chicago White Sox over the summer, and Brian Flynn, last seen with the Kansas City Royals in 2019, through 6 years in Major League Baseball. So the Aces have their best offensive weapons back. Best reliever is back, and they found a good replacement for a departing starter. They'll be tough again this year. The Adelaide Giants had the league's best record at 24-12. In the semifinals, they beat Canberra 2-1 before falling to Melbourne in the championship series. They have never won an ABL title. This was a pitching team, fewest runs allowed, 138, and a .349 team ERA ranked second. Relief pitcher Jason Lott threw in 18 games, 22 1/3 innings, .201 ERA, 0.99 WHIP, and a perfect 5-0 record. 23-year-old Mitch Noonborn joins the Giants this year. Last year in Perth, as a rookie, he threw 9 2/3 innings, 1.86 ERA, and a 0.828 WHIP. He throws a 95-mile-per-hour fastball. Other new arrivals for the bullpen are Luke Wilkins. Last year in Sydney, he had a .282 ERA and 103 WHIP in 21 relief appearances. And 23-year-old Tyler Birch was 4-1 with a 156 ERA for the Philadelphia Phillies single-A team. The Giants were a mediocre hitting team, 4th in runs scored, 178, team batting, 252, and team on-base percentage, 339. 5th in home runs with 24, and 1st in stolen bases with 53. Their top base stealer was Aaron Whitefield with 23, more than double the number from the next guy on the list. He was also their best hitter, slashing .376, .455, .528. Another base stealer joins the team this year, 24-year-old Luke Williams from the Phillies organization. In 2019, he stole 30 bases at AA Reading. Second baseman Curtis Mead is back this year after leading the team in home runs a year ago, while maintaining a .373 on-base percentage. The Giants won more games than any other team last year, mostly because of their pitching. They'll be counting on their pitching to carry them to the top once again. The Canberra Cavalry were second in the Northeast Division behind Auckland, with an even 17 wins and 17 losses. In the single-game wildcard, they beat Perth and moved on to the semi-final series, where they jumped out to a 1-0 series lead over Adelaide, only to lose the series in 3 games. The Cavalry have not won an ABL title since their only league championship in the 2012-2013 season. They were a good hitting team, third in runs scored with 180, .296 team batting average was the league's best, .360 on-base percentage was second best, also second in home runs with 44. First baseman Zach Wilson was the team's top hitter, slashing .368, .408, .603 with 7 home runs. Another good hitter was Cam Warner, a .328 batter. Outfielder David Kendalis hit the ball well and led the team with 5 stolen bases. Veteran catcher Robbie Perkins had a .384 on-base percentage. All those guys are back this year. As a team, they ranked second from the bottom in stolen bases, but should get a big boost this year with the addition of Toronto Blue Jays prospect Samad Taylor. In 2019, he led his Class A team with 26 steals. Pitching was not so good for the Cavalry last year, second most runs allowed, 174, and third worst team ERA, 434. The best coming back is Stephen Kent. In 16 appearances and 31 innings, he had 5 saves and a .203 ERA. Josh Warner appeared in 10 games, 13 innings, .346 ERA, and 10 holds. So their best hitters are back. Base stealing should improve. All they need is some improvement from their pitching to get to the top. The Perth Heat at 23-17 were tied with Melbourne for second in the Southwest Division, but, losing the tiebreaker, were relegated to the wild card where their postseason ended in a 5-4 loss to Canberra. The Heat are 4-time ABL champions, having won it 4 times in the first 5 years after the league was relaunched. This team had good hitting and pitching last year. Their pitching was top of the league with a .321 ERA, 158 runs allowed were the second fewest. Dylan Unsworth was the ABL's top starting pitcher, leading the league in strikeouts 75, innings 71, and wins 6 with only 2 losses. ERA was .228 in 10 starts. As for relief pitchers, Daniel SCHMIDT returns. In 19 appearances, he recorded a .178 ERA with 4 saves. The Heat's roster will include 7 Tampa Bay Rays prospects, 3 of them pitchers. Alan Strong was 10-4 with a .285 ERA, 109 strikeouts in 126 1/3 innings at Single-A Bowling Green a year ago. Long ball was the team's offensive specialty with a league-leading 51 home runs. They were second in team scoring with 212 runs, third in batting 267, on-base percentage 340, and stolen bases 36. Their leader in home runs was Rays prospect Nico Holsizer, but he won't be back. However, second baseman Robbie Glendinning is back, the team's leading hitter with a .335 average, also hit 7 home runs, and outfielder Tim Kennelly, 6 home runs and a .367 on-base percentage last year. 23-year-old shortstop Ford Proctor of the Rays organization will be added to the lineup this year. Last year in Single-A Bowling Green, he hit .290, on-base percentage .383, with 11 steals. Hard telling how all those Rays prospects will perform. That'll determine how good this team is this year. The Brisbane Bandits were 19-21, 1 game behind Canberra for that last playoff spot. Prior to last season, the Bandits had won 4 straight ABL titles. Hitting was weak. Among returning ABL teams, they were second from the bottom in runs scored with 174, team batting .248, on-base percentage .327, and dead last in stolen bases with only 22. Best returning hitter is shortstop Logan Wade, a .291 batter with 5 home runs last year. He was especially good against left-handed pitching, a .328 average with 3 home runs. A new Bandit hitter this season is Gift Ngope, well known as the first African-born player to reach MLB. The former Pittsburgh Pirates and Toronto Blue Jays third baseman had a .412 on-base percentage last year with Sydney, and that was while battling injury. In 2018, he slashed .379, .461, .644. Another addition that could be a big help to their hitting is outfielder Johnny Field. He previously played for the Bandits in the 2014-15 season. In 2018, he reached the major league level, playing 84 games for the Rays and the Twins. He spent 2019 at AAA Iowa in the Chicago Cubs organization. Pitching wasn't much better last year. A .448 team ERA was the second worst, and they allowed 172 runs, the third most. Relief pitcher Sam Holland was a bright spot in their bullpen. 17 games, .346 ERA, and 4 holds. Left-handed pitcher Rick Teasley finished the season with 17 scoreless innings after being moved to the bullpen. Travis Blackley was a reliable starter with a .293 ERA in 6 starts. Blackley spent 4 years in MLB, also played in NPB, KBO, and both Mexican leagues. Ryan Searle was the league leader in saves with 6, but it came with a .496 ERA. 28-year-old lefty Aaron Brown joins the Bandits this year. In 2019, the Phillies prospect made 45 appearances in AA reading with a .382 ERA. The Bandits just missed the postseason last year after winning it all 4 years in a row. A return to the ABL CS is possible, but not likely. Last we have the Sydney Blue Sox. At 16-23 they were last in the Northeast Division, second worst record in all of the ABL, and the worst among teams returning this year. They were last among returning teams in just about every category. 158 runs scored, 235 team batting, 321 on-base percentage, and 21 home runs, all rank last. Their leading hitter last year returns this year. Outfielder Alex Howe led the team in batting, 324, and on-base percentage, 426. This will be his 7th season with the Blue Sox. But it's the new arrivals that will make this team interesting. The biggest name is 48-year-old MANNY RAMIREZ. It's hard telling how the former Major League All-Star will perform at his age, but he will definitely bring attention to the team. In contrast, some very young prospects will also join the team. 18-year-old catcher Francisco Alvarez, ranked 2nd in the New York Mets farm system, is one. 17-year-old outfielder Solomon McGuire, a Pirates prospect, is another. 25-year-old outfielder Jacob Robson, a Detroit Tigers prospect, hit .267 in AAA Toledo last year. Blue Sox pitching was also really bad a year ago. 205 runs allowed and a .497 team ERA, last in both categories. 27-year-old Joe Navalhan was brought in to help with that. He pitched in AAA Toledo in 2019. 20-year-old Josh GESSNER is another new addition. The Phillies prospect previously played for Sydney 3 years ago. This does look like an improved team, not enough to go from last to first, but enough to get out of the cellar. And those are the 6 teams competing in the Australian Baseball League for the 2020-21 season. If you want to watch this league live but don't know where, I'll link the ABL broadcast guide in the description. It'll tell you where each game can be seen. Some are only available in Australia, but most can be seen worldwide. You can catch a few games for free, but if you want to see every game, you'll need to subscribe to a streaming service. If you live in the United States, ABL games will be shown under partnerships with U.S. regional sports networks, including AT&T Sportsnet, Root Sports, Cox Sports Television, and For the Fans. I'll link an article that goes over that. The east coast of Australia is only 5 hours behind the west coast of North America. Plenty of day games are scheduled, including some games starting as early as 9 in the morning. So even if you live on the east coast of North America, you'll be able to watch live ABL games at convenient times. And that's all for this one. Until next time, this is Baseball International. See ya.